plan to confront any of the bad blood between the two of you or any of the issues you had, including over January 6th?
You know, I said 3 years ago, right after the Capitol was attacked, that I would support our nominee, regardless of who it was, including him. I've said earlier this year, I support him. He's been earned the nomination by the voters all across the country. And of course, I'll be at the meeting tomorrow.
And joining us now to discuss what's going on, the former Republican Congressman Charlie Dent and CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers. Charlie, first to you. Trump, as you know, has repeatedly insulted Mitch McConnell many times since the January 6th attack. Let's roll the tape. Listen to this.
Mitch McConnell is a loser.
We do have to do something about Mitch McConnell. He's a disaster. These Washington Republicans like Mitch McConnell is the absolute worst.
I had to fight Mitch McConnell, another beauty.
Mitch McConnell and his wife, Coco Chow. Coco. We got to get the McConnells of the world to do their job.
Yet despite all of that, the senator is now falling in line for tomorrow's meeting. What does that say to you about Trump's consolidation of power within the GOP?
Well, he certainly has consolidated power within the GOP, Wolf, to be sure. But this meeting is going to be very awkward. Not only has Donald Trump insulted Mitch McConnell, but also his wife. There will also be several senators potentially in that meeting, a few senators who voted to convict Donald Trump in the impeachment. Todd Young has also been critical of him. So I think it's going to be a very awkward meeting. I would
support him.
Have we done that expression, switch McConnell? Do you know? Are you aware of what it means, switch McConnell? Or are you thinking, Tony, you're away with the bushes? I'm not. They're real bushes, by the way. I don't know if I said that, but they are. Switch McConnell is, well, it's another word for hypocrite, contradiction, two-faced, all in that particular vernacular, that particular category of, you wouldn't really trust them to, choose which order to put the garbage and, with the garbage you get recycled stuff, food stuff, all of that stuff. You wouldn't trust them to go near your bins, put it that way. And with regard to serious stuff, well, says one thing one day, like after January the 6th, and another thing as June 2024 starts. Because you never guess where Mitch McConnell is now. Here's somebody clinging to power. Anything to impress Trump.
We continue the
How's Senate?
Tomorrow you're going to the NRSC. First time. You haven't spoken to Trump since December 2020, from what we understand. Do you plan to confront any of the bad blood between the two of you or any of the issues you had, including over January 6th?
You know, I said 3 years ago, right after the Capitol was attacked, that I would support our nominee, regardless of who it was, including him. I've said earlier this year, I support him. He's been earned the nomination by the voters all across the country. And of course, I'll be at the meeting tomorrow.
Leader McConnell.
President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. President Trump is still liable for everything he did while he was in office as an ordinary citizen. Unless the statute of limitations is run, still liable for everything he did while he was in office. Didn't get away with anything yet. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
From a coward, switch McConnell, to two very bizarre scenarios and situations. Andy Biggs, who I don't actually understand as well, by the way, how the minute they become representatives, it's almost like they forget what the prime job, I mean, if I got it wrong, somebody say something, but I always thought whenever a politician has knocked at my door, their prime job is to talk about the basics. Sorry to roll through the list. Housing, health, jobs, money, finance, that sort of thing. But no, Andy Biggs, he's got this whole thing where they're obsessed. And right now the obsession is with Garland, Merrick Garland. Holding him in contempt, etc. I have no idea really what it is. There's nothing there, but it's taken up time. Quite how that is solving any particular problems that you may want solving in your neighbourhood if you have a Republican politician who's literally obsessed with this nonsense. I don't know, but I mean, Andy Biggs probably thinks it's an election winner for him. And then Trump's spokesperson, who is just away with the fairies, just on a different planet. They do not live on planet Earth. They could be from Uranus. Bad joke, but you know what I mean? It's just like bungalow, you could call them. You know what a bungalow is? Lights on, nothing going on upstairs.
Well, let's go one step further, right? Let's not just hold Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. Let's get him out of office. Let's get the entire Biden administration out of office. And we do that, of course, by electing President Trump on November 5th. President Trump has said we have to drain the swamp. Merrick Garland is the epitome of the swamp. If you look up a picture of swamp creature in the dictionary, I guarantee you his photo is there. He is exactly the type of person who looks benign, but is anything but. The entire Biden administration, of course, which Merrick Garland is a part of as the Attorney General of the Department of Justice, or as I like to call it under President Biden, the Department of Injustice. These guys haven't just weaponized the full might of the U.S. government against President Trump. They've weaponized the government against the American people ourselves. I mean, under Joe Biden, we have to remember the FBI was directed to use, under the guise of counterterrorism measures, investigate parents of school-age children who criticized school boards for valid questions over woke curriculums and coronavirus mandates. Merrick Garland, of course, was at the center of leading those directives, and this came amidst U.S. attorney generals across the country saying there was no legal basis whatsoever, no law enforcement basis for using counterterrorism resources to investigate parents. And of course, the epitome of the swamp, you have Merrick Garland willing to go after parents of school-aged children using counterterrorism measures. Where's the counterterrorism measures being used on our border? Where's the counterterrorism measures being used against the 10 million illegal immigrants who've come across our border under Joe Biden, the 30 tons of fentanyl, the 360 names off the terror watch list? Because that's enough illegal immigrants who are breaking the law on their first act of entry into this country, and they could swing an election should they be allowed to vote. That's enough fentanyl to kill every American 10 times over. And that's enough potential terrorists to cause another 9/11. Sounds like a much better use of counterterrorism resources to me, rather than weaponizing the government against the American people.
100%. So let me ask you, though, why do you think Garland is so adamant about not releasing these audio recordings, again, with Joe Biden and Robert Hur? And what do you think, more importantly, the chances are that any of us will ever hear them? Because even left-leaning outlets, CNN, are suing to get access.
Well, I would never pretend to know what goes on inside the head of a swamp creature like Merrick Garland, and quite frankly, I wouldn't want to. But again, it's just part of this larger picture of an administration that weaponizes the government that is supposed to be of, for, and by the people against its own people. And sunlight is the best disinfectant. I think that's something unique about President Trump. I say this often, but President Trump is like a pair of glasses for the American people. It's always through him that they can see the truth. And so, you know, this is par for the course for the Biden administration. I mean, Joe Biden has been dishonest with the American people for a long time. I don't see why the people he hires to run the government so ineffectively would be any different.
So the proof will be in the pudding. Does he actually send this over to Weiss and say it's up to you? And will Weiss have the spine, let's put it that way, to actually engage in a prosecution? Which is why I'm viewing this very skeptically, and so this is why I've been encouraging. My position is that the Speaker has the authority without Congress, without even taking a vote, to appoint a special House counsel to actually engage in a kind of a civil prosecution, if you will, of this contempt citation.